Hey, man. Welcome to Cult Film in Review, the podcast where we discuss the films you dig and no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight, man, we are going back to 1969. We're hopping on our choppers, going down that sweet, sweet road. Might do some drugs. Might pick up some ladies. Might stay at a commune. We don't know.
Oh, you mean like a Tuesday?
Like a Tuesday. That's a Tuesday for us here at Cult Film Review. Because tonight we're talking about Easy Rider. So let's just start the show.
Your Hollywood system stole our sex and co-opted our violence, so there's nothing left for our kinds of movies.
I did not hit her. It's not true.
Klopex? Klopex. Klopex.
Up yours, baby.
Me and Bubba, my little brother, listen to you every night.
Where in the hell are we?
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Thanks for joining us this week, guys. We really appreciate it. Do us a favor, head on over to iTunes, leave us a review and a comment. It helps us out a lot. We really appreciate it. We read them at the end of the episodes when we get new ones. And guess what? We got a new one tonight. So stick around for that one because we're giving out shout-outs.
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 Shout-out.
Tonight, we're talking about Easy Rider. It was directed by Dennis Hopper. Came out in 1969. Had a budget of $400,000. Well, it's conflicting. $360,000 to $400,000 is what I'll say.
I don't think that's very conflicting. That's close.
Yeah, it's close. It made $60 million at the box office, so it was a hit. It was filmed here in the U.S., and it currently has an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. If you don't know what it's about two countercultural bikers traveling from Los Angeles to New Orleans in search of America.
That's pretty good.
They're just searching for it.
Yeah, they're
Out
trying
there on
to
that
find the
open
real.
road.
I think they're trying to find the real America.
I think so, too. And do they find it?
Yes.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
This is Chris's pick. Chris?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Fuck it, Chris. Don't talk yet.
Yeah.
As always, I am joined by the regular crew of Michael Slucio,
Hi, everyone.
Chris Willenbrecht,
Hello.
and Kyle Smith.
Hey, man.
All right, now this is Chris's pick.
Yep.
Chris, why'd you pick this film?
I picked it in a hurry, actually.
It's a panic pick.
It was kind of a panic pick. Yeah, I was maybe not prepared for what I wanted my next one to be, but this one didn't come up in my head, so I started just looking around online and kind of, trying to find films that I had seen before, but I wanted to see again, that I told myself I would see again because I don't remember it that well.
Mm-hmm.
And Easy Rider is one of those ones that when I first saw it, I was under the impression that it was a really great film. And so I wanted to revisit it and see if it still holds up.
All right, so Kyle, you had seen it, right?
Absolutely.
All right, so Kyle's seen it before. Chris has seen it before because he said that. Mike, have you seen this before?
I have not seen this film before. I've always wanted to see this film. I've always given myself excuses not to see this film for whatever reason. Maybe Suicide Squad or something worse was on. But yeah, no, I'm glad that you
Wait,
picked
so
this.
you wanted to see it but avoided seeing it?
Like,
Hold on.
it's like what I talked when I talk about sometimes like there are films out there that you're like oh, I'll get to that because it's a classic and like eventually I'll get to it,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Like I don't know how long it took me to watch like Citizen Kane or something, or
Right.
like you'll be like, yeah, of course I'm gonna watch that because I'm a film fan. Eventually I'll get to it, but then you never really do
Yeah.
because you're trying to find like new underground shit instead of the
Gotcha.
big thing that's like, oh, everybody knows that film.
Yeah,
So I didn't.
I'm in the same exact boat as Mike. Like, this is one that was like, I've always heard about. I love Dennis Hopper. So I was like, I always wanted to see it. And I was like, well, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Because it's always there. You know what I mean? It's not like the hard one to find.
Yeah, you're never gonna. Yeah,
Yeah.
You're gonna find Easy Rider everywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Like, it's, because like, it's just one of those films that you always hear about. You never really hear anything directly about it. You just always hear and know of it.
What do you hear about it, or why do you...
The whole reason I even saw the movie to begin with was because of the was it Steppenwolf? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the Steppenwolf song at the beginning has been like considered like the first or potentially the first heavy metal song. And when I was really into music, I always get anything I get into. If I get into music, get into film, I always look up the history of stuff, to learn more about where everything comes from. And this movie always was brought up because of the song in the opening title credits. So that was like natural. I was like, well, now I need to see what this movie's all about,
I cannot tell you one distinctive thing that I've heard about it. There's always this allure of this great movie. Like, and I've just like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't think I've maybe met a person who's ever I don't know if they've ever talked to me. It's just one of those things, like, you've always see it in like in the top lists of something.
According
like,
to my
you know
dad,
what I mean?
this movie was huge as fuck when he was a kid because he said everywhere you went, they got that poster with them on the bikes was everywhere. Like, all of your friends had that poster, you know, like, just like out and about, that poster would be like hung up as like decoration in places and shit. Like, this is a huge fucking film.
Must have stood for something.
I think so.
Huh.
Can't imagine what that would be.
You know what? We'll talk about it when we come right back.
All we represent to them, man, is somebody who needs a haircut. Oh, no. What you represent to them is freedom.
What the hell's wrong with freedom, man? That's what it's all about.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what it's all about, all right. But talking about it and being it, that's two different things. I mean, it's real hard to be free when you are bought and sold in the marketplace. Of course, don't ever tell anybody that they're not free, because then they're going to get real busy killing and maiming to prove to you that they are. Oh, yeah, they're going to talk to you and talk to you and talk to you about individual freedom. But they see a free individual, it's going to scare them.
No, well, don't make them running scared.
No, it makes them dangerous.
All right, guys, we're back. We're talking about Easy Rider. It was Chris's pick. I want to ask this question right off the bat. Is this a cult film? I don't know if is it just a popular film or is it a cult film?
I think. I think this
a generational film, maybe. Sorry,
it might be a generational, but I kind of feel like this film is the very definition of a cult film because it hit an audience at a time and had such a massive cultural impact on that audience.
Yeah,
That
but
by definition, should be a cult film.
Or a pop culture. I wouldn't say that's a cult
I
film.
just wish there was a podcast called Generational Film and Review. There'd only be like 7 films. Anyway, yeah. I mean, I think. What was the question?
Is it a cult film?
Is it a cult
No.
film?
I mean, yeah, but no. What were you saying? It was a pop culture
Is
film.
is it a like? That's what he. I kind of
Here's the thing.
took from
I
his
think it is-
explanation of it.
God, I feel like
Kyle's.
it is a cult film now, but maybe it wasn't
Then.
when it came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I feel like it's such a product of its time that the people that still love it to this day like have to belong to a cult. Like it has to be a cult thing.
Yeah, because I'll be honest, like I did not connect with this film like one iota.
Well,
So-
you weren't born yet.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
But
And
I don't
this-
thi-
I-
but I want to preface. I don't think that you need to necessarily grow up in the '60s to
No.
enjoy this film. But go on. Sorry.
No, what I was saying though is it definitely speaks to that. Well, it was like the hippies were like at the end of their run, basically,
Okay.
and like America was somewhat changing. You know.
Yeah, I see where Cody's coming from. I mean, to kind of go off what you're saying, Mike, it's you don't have to be from that time to enjoy the film, but the message that the film has speaks to that generation specifically.
Yeah, because they lived through that. I didn't. I can't speak for that shit.
Yeah, so it's hard. It's hard to fully understand and know what they're saying with the various scenes and the various things that they're presented to you. I mean, you can get the broad concept of what it is, but in terms of like the emotional impact of what those scenes meant to an entire generation of people, like we just can't have that.
Yeah.
We have no frame of reference for that.
But the question is it a cult film? Like when you think of a cult film, you think of almost like a, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's all over the board. It could be a mass following. It could be a small following. This one, I think, was massively popular and became like a pop culture thing. Like who was saying about the posters? Like there's posters everywhere for this. Like
Kyle
the marketing was like mass marketing.
I don't even think it was mass marketing. I think it was just people bought it.
Was that what
Like
it was?
Yeah, that's what he said. He said, my dad would have only been like 7 when this movie came out, so it's not like he went into the theater and saw it, but everybody that he grew up with all had these posters years after the movie came out, you know? It just had that kind of impact.
Right. I would question whether or not this film is like carried on through generations as like this awesome film. I mean, I know us 90s kids, like we kind of grew up and knew about this film, but do kids today know about Easy Rider growing up, or is it just is there like a cutoff for that sort of thing?
I don't know, because I feel like if they're into film, though, you're gonna hear about this movie.
Yeah.
Like because it's like in everything. It's like the top 100 list of every fucking thing, and then it's in the like I don't have my computer open because my fucking computer's dying, but it's like in the Academy of Film Archive bullshit 700. You know, like it's like a piece of a piece of American film history.
Plus, this movie is also like this is the quintessential low budget film that like fucking blew up.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Like, too, is this is it the greatest trick?
What?
Or the first trick of its time in filming?
Well,
where Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper are like, you know what I want to do? What's that? I want to ride our bikes from fucking L.A. to New Orleans. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, but I don't want to pay for it.
And I want people to film me.
Yeah, I want people to film me doing it because I'm going to wear this sick ass outfit. So
I don't know. I don't know, man.
Because that's what this movie is, man. It's a vacation.
I feel like this movie. The only reason this movie came to be was Jack Nicholson wrote a script that starred Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper, if I'm not mistaken, and it was kind of the exact same concept. But that movie, the budget was cut. They never went as far as they wanted to go with it. And I think Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper were like, we could fucking do this better ourselves, kind of thing. And the reason why Jack Nicholson's in it is because they became such good friends after it was done. I think Peter Fonda is even quoted saying, like, you know, telling Nicholson, or look, dude, your script was fucking solid. The movie just came together poorly. So, like, this movie was kind of bred out of that, out of like a desire to accomplish a artistic goal that maybe didn't happen prior.
So, like, Peter Fonda just like stole his script and was like, "Yo, we'll put you in the film."
They basically they came up with their own story that they knew spoke to maybe a broader audience, perhaps, and maybe it was just since they had more creative control, because Peter Fonda is the producer of it, Dennis Hopper's the director, so they had a complete creative control over it. So I think that's kind of why this film came to be. I mean, that's just my assumption, but you got to assume if they did a movie that did poorly with the same basic concept and did it again, that exploded. Obviously, they were trying to tell the story they wanted to tell in the get-go, but they weren't able to do it.
But Peter Fonda wrote it.
Yeah. Well, so did
it was Dennis Hopper and
Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda, and another guy.
Yeah.
But not Jack Nicholson.
No.
You'd think you would get like a story by or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know.
It's not a story.
Well,
it's
that's
just
the thing. I've never seen that film, so there's no. We can't assume that it's a direct.
You think it was something like Jack? I mean, it's a great story, but it's never going to work with sailors in a submarine. He's like, what are you talking about, man? Sailors in a submarine, freedom. Like, he's like, no, that doesn't really work. You can't discover America in a submarine, Jack. But let me take a stab at it. I think I could figure this out.
All right, so there's not a lot of characters in this film, and I'll tell you my favorite one right off the bat, because I feel like he, in my opinion, was the only person with a big enough character for me to enjoy, and that was Jack Nicholson. As George Harris, right? Hanson.
Yeah.
Yes. Fantastic, dude. I didn't recognize him at first until he smiled, and then I was like, "Oh, there he is."
Really?
Yeah. Like he was up for Best Supporting Actor for this film.
I wouldn't be surprised. He was definitely what I feel is the. He was. I don't know how to describe it. I guess I would call it like the hub of like the entire like plot of the film, or at least what the theme of the film was, right? Like he brought it all together.
Yeah.
Like he was the guy that's like, you're kind of like, oh man, I'm watching these two guys, they're going through the desert, they're riding and they're encountering different people, but like what does this all mean? And then all of a sudden there's this monologue that he comes up with about how, you know, hey man, like freedom is like, you know, people say they want it, but they don't really want it, because when they see two people that have it, like,
Yeah,
they
it scares
become
them.
it scares them, and they're gonna fight against that, and you know. I feel like that's like the center right there. It's like the climax of this whole thing is right when he says that.
He really does represent. If you're looking at counterculture versus quote unquote the man and all the people in the middle, he is all the people in the middle. He can easily see the different viewpoints and how they interact with each other in this world. And I think I think the reason why you gravitate towards him so much. I mean, yes, he's a solid actor and his character is very likable, but he really does like bring the whole, like Mike was saying, he brings the whole thing together and really packages it in a way where the everyman who hasn't taken a hard stance on either side can really understand and appreciate.
Well, I definitely think he's also the most relatable because, and this might be the whole counterculture thing too, is because he's almost the most normal out of the people.
That's what we just said.
Yeah, I'm just
Well, no, but
sharing it up.
they really give him some range because he starts off as the drunk, and then he's the lawyer, and then he's like the wild you know, kid that goes like riding with these dudes, and then his character kind of morphs in a short amount of time.
To like a puddle of blood, apparently.
Yeah.
Because he gets fucking beat the shit
He
out
lives
of
a quick, fast, hard life.
Yeah. He burned brightly.
Yeah, I liked it too, and it's really exciting too because I was reading up after I watched this. I was like reading up on his career and stuff, and like this really was his movie. This was the movie that made him a fucking superstar.
Yeah, well, yeah, he steals he steals the show. He
was in a bunch of films before this, and. You know, I think they were well done films as a leading man, but this was really the film that like blew him the fuck up.
He stole the screen when he was on it. He stole it. Like
absolutely,
he did. Which is that's hard to do when you're going up against honestly Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper. Like Dennis Hopper is a force in himself even at this time.
Those two were very downplayed in this film, though. I feel like the
Peter
world
Fonda,
around them, a lot of the other characters were kind of eccentric, almost more than they were.
They were very well. I don't know. Like Dennis Hopper's character was a little bit more out there, but Peter Fonda's character was pretty damn boring.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I was trying to figure out exactly who these characters were in their world and who they were in the world around them, the dying counterculture, like who they actually represented, you know, like because throughout the film they really do approach and come in contact with people who I feel like more strongly represent that kind of those different kind of ideas and stuff, and they were almost like to me like I associated these two characters are like people who were they were down with the whole counterculture thing, but they knew when a ship was sinking and they knew like when to like move on and kind of do their own thing. Like they stayed as they were close enough to it, but far enough away that they could just not be so entangled with it. So it was really interesting to watch them in this film because I don't feel like they directly have these like diehard roots of like, you know, we're gonna go live in a commune kind of thing, or you know, it's all free love and everything. It's you know, let's just find our fucking like success and happiness and just let the rest of the world do its thing.
I thought that whole scene was like really ironic a little bit too, because going back to what you're saying right now, they go into this commune and these guys are supposed to be the hippies, right? And like the whole idea of free love and this and this and that, but there were rules, and I felt like that was what they were trying to pull away from. That was that here's two guys that live on the open road, like their own rules, like they're free. They meet up with these super hippies, let's call them, that live in a commune, but immediately upon getting there, they're not allowed to fuck certain women. They're not allowed to, you know, like things are blocked off. Like there's literally that scene where Dennis Hopper tries to walk into the thing, and this guy just holds
into the circle.
Yeah, and he's like, you can't show up, and he's. What do you mean I can't fucking show up?
Yeah.
Like freedom means I can go wherever the fuck I want.
Right.
Yeah.
But not in this commune, which is ironic, and I feel like that was what they were trying to get at.
I agree
was that
with you. I totally agree with you. I think the thing that you're supposed to take away from most of this film is like some of those concepts from the counterculture. As much as they wanted to be anti-establishment, they still brought in the establishment kind of rules.
Hypocrisy.
It was the hypocrisy of it all. Absolutely. That's a great point. Good job.
And I agree with that point as well.
I did not pick that up when watching it, but now that you're explaining it to me, it does make sense.
Hey, I didn't either until Kyle mentioned it. And now I just put it together
no,
right now.
like no, seriously, I didn't pick up on that at all. Like, yeah, with Peter Fonda's character, man, I don't know exactly what he's supposed to represent or who he's supposed to represent, either or their characters as far as like.
I think this is kind of a Western-based film, like it's kind of written to be like a Western, but they also wanted to incorporate kind of like a superhero-esque kind of vibe to it, which is why they keep calling him Captain America. And then I feel like Dennis Hopper's character represents like an old cowboy, but they're obviously bikers.
Yeah, no, I can totally see that, and even like to you can use that concept of it being kind of a Western to explain Cody's point, which you made earlier, which is like these two characters are kind of dry and they're quiet and they don't have a whole lot of lines to them, and that definitely kind of pulls from kind of a Western theme where your hero or your anti-hero, he doesn't need to say anything, he just needs to experience the world around him, and you as the audience is the one who's supposed to make the decisions.
Is anyone really like a hero or anti-hero in this? Like, I mean, I guess there's anti-heroes.
I think the two characters are anti-heroes for sure, because they definitely you can't argue that they do represent freedom.
But are they heroes? Or are they like I don't know? Like, I guess they're experiencing this stuff, but it's almost like they're also watching. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're definitely they definitely feel like observers.
Yes,
like free. I mean, they're supposed to represent the freedom of everything, but they are observers. It's different than Vanishing Point, where the character in that is supposed to represent freedom too, but he has a general goal. Like, I mean, these two guys do too.
They do too.
They got to get the drugs to wherever they're trying to go.
Well, they got the drugs. They dropped off the drugs already. They're just trying to go to Mardi Gras. Like,
right.
they give
like,
Mardi Gras is like a throwaway to me. Like,
yeah, it turns into them just kind of experiencing America, as where Vanishing Point is just like, I got to get to this point A to point B, and I got to evade the cops. It's more of like an action film. This is more of like a laid back kind of like
road trip.
Yeah,
it's definitely a road film for sure. But I mean, going back to what you were saying, Cody, I mean, it really depends on what your viewpoint and your opinion on what a quote unquote hero is. I mean, these guys, I think they are some form of a maybe not a direct anti-hero, but maybe not a hero either. Something right in the middle, and they are certainly observers, but what they represent is heroic to the people around them, or people who are upset with the life that they're in. And it's like, look at these two guys; they're just doing whatever they want to do. Like that, their actions can be taken as kind of a heroic thing.
Look at these two guys just sleeping in the dirt.
I also think that
they
don't
care.
They do small things along the way that sort of represent that heroicness, like picking up a hitchhiker and letting them ride on the back of their motorcycle. Hey, you want to go with us to, Mardi Gras? Yeah, come along. Like, that's kind of like...
That was just a thing before Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out.
That taught everybody not to pick up hitchhikers.
Yeah, that was just a thing that people did, Chris. I mean...
I don't know. Was it?
Yes.
I feel
on
like
a motorcycle?
I think hitchhiking was a
normal way of life. Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
and then
picked up a stranger,
and then murders happened.
Yeah,
and then Texas Chainsaw Massacre
killers were born.
Yeah,
ruined it all. But no, it's just I don't know. There is things that do bug me about this film too, and I don't know if you guys have any of it. It's man, for me, there's a lot of montages of riding motorcycles.
Yep. I mean, but there's also probably, I would say, an equal amount in Vanishing Point. Did that bother you then, or is it just because the music selection was different?
Yeah, I think it did bother me then, if I remember correctly.
Okay, so I'll say I feel like this is a convention of its time. This was the music was just as much a part. Yeah. I mean, if you think this film is bad with the montages and all the music and stuff, try watching like Steven Spielberg's first short film, Amblin.
Okay.
Like that film, like puts this film to shame in terms of that. But I did feel it was something that reminded me of that short film, because it is something that I feel like you couldn't get away with nowadays.
No,
there's no way you're gonna do like, hey, let's just play the whole song to a montage of people on the road hanging out. Like, what
was the year Play Misty for Me was made?
That's 75.
Yeah,
that was 75.
No, I think it was 73. I want to say 73.
Either way, that also had long montages specifically in there for music purposes.
I complained.
Yeah. So that's just something
Just a
Cody.
victim
That's
of
just
the
something
times.
Cody doesn't
71.
like.
71.
71.
So
all right.
close, you think.
Very close.
So, like I said,
So was
I
Vanishing
think
Point.
I really
Vanishing Point
do.
was 71. So
I think it's a convention of its time. It was something that films were doing at this time, and eventually people got out of it. But you got to understand that like this is like also a time where like music is like a big part
thing.
of people's lives.
Yeah.
It's less. I mean, I wouldn't say it's less so now. It's just we consume music in a very different way. We consume it on Spotify. We consume.
I
it
would
on,
say though, like my personal opinion, the difference between this or Vanishing Point and let's say Chris brought up one example is Play Misty for Me. I'm sure there's a million others out there. The difference is like the montages are part of the story because in Vanishing Point he's driving across the country, so it stands to reason he's going to be driving in his car a lot. So yeah, here's a chance to throw in some kick-ass music. Same with this movie. It's kind of any kind of road movie is going to have montages of them actually doing their thing.
With my thing too is it's just at some point they all look the same. Like,
yeah, I don't disagree with that. I think it can run itself into the ground a little bit. But like if we're talking about things that we didn't like about the film, I want to switch gears and I'll say there's something I didn't like, which was part of the editing process.
The transitions?
The transitions where they did the flicker back and forth thing. I thought it was really artistic and creative the first time it happened, but it just kept happening throughout the film. And like I was telling these guys when we were outside a minute ago, like I feel like this was something that accidentally came together in the editing room. They're like, "Oh, let's try this," and they're like, "Oh, that was cool." And then anytime they're stuck, they're like, "Oh, let's do that flickery thing again."
I almost feel that way too. It's because it happens the first time it happens. It's so damn jarring.
It is. It completely wakes you up if you're not paying attention.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, you are. You're like, what happened? Did I blink? Did I blink rapidly? Did I have rapid eye movement? I don't know. Did I have REM? Did I just go into REM?
I think drugs had a big influence on this film. And
no shit.
Wait, where?
Hold on a second.
Tell me where you saw drug use once in this movie.
Well, they were actually using drugs every time in this movie.
Yeah. They
So
certainly
for
were.
real?
Yes.
No,
Like,
yeah.
was that
every
something
single time any drugs were consumed, it was real drugs being.
That
done on
explains
screen.
why there was God, who was it? Was it Peter Fonda when they're doing the it's
Acid?
hit no, the three of them in
Well, when Nicholson does the pot for the first
no,
time.
no.
Coke?
No, who's the hitchhiker they
What do
pick
you want?
up?
Flip
Oh.
news?
Oh yeah,
Flip
the
juice.
hitchhike. He's just like the traveler.
When they're
or
talking
something.
about like the everything, the people who own this land's buried beneath you type of thing. That scene when they're by the
Right.
fire.
Yeah, there was. I think it was Peter Fonda. I remember watching him being like, he's playing high really well. Like, and now I'm like thinking about it. Like, okay, yeah, he was just high.
He ain't playing shit. That's take 3.
So I want to make a movie.
Well,
we
that's
need a lot
like-
of drugs.
That's a lot of it too. That's a lot of the movie too. That again, like there's this. For me, there's this periods of in between these scenes of actual things that mean something is like a bunch of scenes that are just like, hey, you know what we should do? What? Light a fire. Let's just smoke some weed. Film it. Got it. Like,
well, most of this movie was ad libbed. There was not
you can
a solid
tell.
script for this film.
you can tell.
But I mean, do you honestly think these scenes where they were getting high and shit like didn't mean something at all?
I don't.
I feel
No,
like
I
the
think
conversations were valid.
I think they were like especially when Jack Nicholson was on there. Like there was definite, meaning for him. But it's again, it's that same. It's a repetitive thing of the same thing over and over again. Where it's like, okay, well, each time you do it, each one means less.
Well, I don't know. Like I feel like they each had their moments of like important lines to say in the
Yeah.
film, but then they were just like fill in the blanks. Like with
I
the-
actually I want to say the opposite of you, Cody. I think each one meant more because quite honestly, the last time you have a high conversation is Jack Nicholson basically dropping that fucking knowledge bomb about what freedom really is. So I actually think it worked in opposite. But by the time you got to that point, you're kind of fatigued by the whole idea.
That's what I'm
of
saying.
it. But it was still, I still think Jack Nicholson's performance and what he had to say was enough to really bring that scene in.
No, I agree. But then like then you also hurt it by giving it that setting because it's like, oh, hey, here's just another sitting around the fire scene.
Can I say I
And
absolutely
you-
loved Nicholson's reaction though to the it's a joint, man.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that what daddy is?
I know, it's
is that what
fantastic.
daddy is, huh? How does
It's
that work
fantastic.
now? I fucking loved it. Had me dying.
What about his little tick that he had every time he would
Nick,
do
Nick, Nick,
every
Nick.
time he would take a swig?
Yeah,
I don't know. That must have just been like a creative choice.
Oh yeah, he
was
probably
going
just threw
for
that
it.
out there.
I imagine
That's
that
probably
was his
Hopper's
thing.
idea. It was probably Hopper's idea. Is what I'm gonna
Speaking
say.
of Hopper, what was his creative? Like, what was his character choice? To be an asshole all the time?
Yeah, dude, thank you for saying it because I'm right there with you on that. Like, I
seemed
was
like
like,
he
I
was-
wouldn't hang out with this dude.
Yeah, he seemed like he was always constantly standoffish.
This is kind of the thing, though. This is what we're going back to what we were talking about of who these characters are in this world.
Yeah, but
In this
why is he
counterculture world,
so defensive about everything?
I don't know. I
Doesn't
almost
trust anybody.
Yeah, I almost feel like Peter Fonda's character is like
Laid back,
is
totally
middle,
trustworthy.
like
yeah.
if we want to frame these characters in like a political sense,
Okay.
Peter Fonda is middle left, and Dennis Hopper's middle right. You know what I mean? He's a little more conservative and shit like that, where Fonda's a little more liberal and kind of
I
understanding.
guess
this shit.
so. I guess so. It just seemed like every single time somebody made a comment, and even the way other characters reacted to him was in a way of like,
Yeah, he's definitely more aggressive of the two,
like,
for sure.
like it was always like a combat, you know, like the scene where they're at the bonfire, the same scene that I was talking about with Peter Fonda. Like, that hippie is like kind of like I'm from someplace
from the city
with a long name or something like that.
Yeah, he's being very standoffish.
And he's being very standoffish. Oh, really? Oh, really? Is that where you're from? Like, everything kind of comes off as like this
no.
weird passive-aggressive.
Can I be honest with you though?
What?
I gotta side with Hopper in that scene because the hippie was kind of being a dick.
He was
No, he
being a
was,
dick.
but was he feeding off the energy that like Dennis
Yes,
Hopper
he
was
was.
starting
Yeah, he was.
at the gas station when he was like, "Don't fucking, we can't pick this guy up."
I
What
kind
the
of
fuck?
think it comes down. I kind of think it more or less kind of comes down to the simple fact that Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda's character made a hell of a cocaine deal and a huge fucking score.
Right.
And like he's just being incredibly protective of their nest egg.
But that's-
and he's not trusting of anybody else that comes around because he's probably always thinking how they're gonna
Hold
take
on.
my shit though.
No, because that almost doesn't even come up again. Like, because you think it would come up again when they get arrested for illegal parading. Or whatever it is. Like, you think that would come up again because you'd be like, oh, fuck, the cops have our bike now. Hopefully they don't find the stash of cash in there. And there's other scenes, too, where it's like, hopefully, oh, we're going to take these girls from the commune across the canyon. Hopefully they don't find this. Like, that's what I kept on thinking. Like, when's the cash going to get stolen? I literally kept on thinking, seeing this movie, when is the cash going to get stolen so this movie finally goes somewhere?
Well, the beauty part
It
is
never
it
happens.
doesn't get stolen; it gets blown up and burned.
Yeah.
It never gets to be enjoyed.
But I almost wonder if that was done on purpose. Like
I think it was.
It was done on purpose to make you think, like, what is going to happen with this cash? And then they just blow it up in the end.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh,
so.
really?
I think there's a statement to be said there for sure.
Well, you think the cash was something?
Yeah, well, because I was thinking about the cash the whole time. The whole time the movie was going on, I was like, well, when's this cash going to come into play? When's someone going to take this?
Yeah.
Or when's something going to happen to it to make these characters react and have to go do something? Because I'm like, this movie's got to go somewhere, right? Like, that's what I'm thinking. Story-wise, I'm like, it's got to go somewhere. Because otherwise from that, it's a societal, I don't know if that's a word.
Yes.
Commentary, honestly, like watching it.
Yeah, that's all. See, that's what I only gathered from this film was that it was. I mean, are we talking about the ending now? Are we getting to
We
that
can
right now?
talk
We're just
about-
talking
yeah.
about. Well, we were just talking about the Dennis Hopper's character and his aggression towards protecting the cash, and that led into that. But yeah, if you want to go. We can easily
Yeah.
go into the end of it right now.
Like for the ending for me. Okay, so a film that I had saw before this was Electric Light and Blue, which is like 1972 or 3. And it's about a motorcycle cop that he kind of like in his pursuit to become a detective, he learns about the oppression of police, and he kind of starts siding with hippies more, right? And in the end of it, he dies in a very similar fashion. Well, not in a similar fashion. He trusts some people that he pulls over, and they end up just shooting him dead on the highway. And that's the end of the fucking film.
Yeah.
And this film reminded me of that, despite the fact that this film came first. So it led me to believe that maybe that director just kind of tried to rob this ending and try to use it in a different way. But the way this film ends, to do it so suddenly, like you're leading up to what you think might be like another good 20 minutes of this film, because they gotta you know, they got to take the cash and they got to like what like where's this all leading to is what you're kind of thinking. Like, what is it only? And then, you know, when you see that the same fucking shitbags from the diner have followed them, and this guy's pointing a rifle, he shoots Dennis Hopper, and then he just kills fucking Peter Fonda.
Yeah, just
blows
him
to
both.
fucking pieces. It's what I think is learning from. It's what a tragedy, I guess, is what I would call it. It's like a modern day like concept of a tragedy, right? Like, what is a tragedy meant for you to do? You appeal to a certain character, and then when the man finally wins, you say it makes you introspectively look back on your own life and say, "Fuck, I don't want that to happen to me." You know, like what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you
So
know,
better fall
am
in
I
line.
against like an unstoppable force, and should I fight against this force? I think that's what resonated a lot with this film, because it ends in such a tragic way, which would elicit a more emotional response than that. Hey, at the end, man,
They make it to Florida.
Yeah, they make it to Florida. They live their happy lives and say "What's an aho" and fucking like whatever. You know, like I don't. You know, the way this film ends, it says that, and like Electric Light and Blue tries to do the same thing.
Sure,
it shows that like, you know, you can only go so far trying to be trustworthy and hippie like or whatever,
to be your own thing or be independent,
right, or live your own life
outside of the machine
before
or whatever.
the machine kind of collapses on you and you have to pay the price.
That ending that shocked me. I completely forgot. That was one thing I did appreciate the second viewing, is I completely forgot that's how it ended. You know,
Yeah.
And it hits you so quickly and so suddenly. I think it resonates because it's just for such a fucking stupid reason.
Yeah.
It's for no reason at all. It's like, hey, let's fuck with this guy, and they start calling him a bunch of fucking shitty ass names and whatnot. And Dennis Hopper flips the fucking dude off, and he just fucking shoots him. And they're acting like, what happened? What happened back there, you know? And then they decide to flip around and kill the other guy. It's just so sudden and so unexpected and so unnecessary. It's an unnecessary death.
Am I the only one this time around to say that I saw that coming?
What?
Yeah, no, I did. I was like, dude, at some point you realize this film is going nowhere and it just has to end. And the only way it can end is by killing those two characters, because you can't show anything past what they've already done. Otherwise the movie means shit.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from. That you would.
I didn't know how they were gonna die. I just knew they were gonna die.
That's what I mean. I agree with you. I
think the suddenness. I'll say. I think the suddenness comes from the fact that it happens in what you think is going to be yet again another riding montage, and it abruptly fucking ends.
It's what I. Man, how do I put this? I know where you're going with this, Cody, because it is true. It's horror movies do this sometimes, where like there's a scene of intense fucking like horror, and then all of a sudden there's this moment of just like everybody's cool and like there's no danger in sight, and that's always the moment that if you're in a theater, you're like grabbing onto your girlfriend or whatever, because you know like shit can't get this calm.
Yeah.
You know, like something's got to happen.
Yeah.
So I did feel that, Cody, that I'm like, how long am I in this film? Like I'm in, like, you know, an hour and whatever. Like this thing has to wrap up.
Yep.
And since it's them cruising down the road, something big is gonna happen right now.
Yeah, I think
we can't do another montage at like the last 10 minutes of the film.
I did not feel that way the first time I saw this movie. I mean, granted, I was maybe not as an experienced of a movie watcher at the time, but like. I just, for me, it was like, it left me with a moment of like, that's the fucking end of this movie. Like it just that quickly, you know, for a young, like, I don't know, I was probably like 13 or something when I saw it. I was like, what the fuck? I'd never seen anything like that before. Like a movie just end so abruptly. Like, so I think the way they did that was actually very like, it was clever, you know, it was clever. I don't see it as a cop out or anything. Like we just didn't know what to do. It can't go anywhere. Like,
quite honestly, I was of the mindset, because again, I forgot that they actually died at the end. I actually thought the credits were just going to start rolling as they were cruising down the highway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
I just knew there was no way that they were gonna win. Like you can tell from the overtone of the film. And
I did not get that.
I could tell from the overtone of the film
again,
that there's no way they were going to win.
It's a convention that people don't do anymore. I mean, this is the same way like Travis Bickle dies the same way Taxi Driver. Like, I mean,
it's the same way fucking, so we're going back to the same way Vanishing Point ends. You
right.
could just
just
Dead.
boom, like sudden death, and then that's the ending. The ending is the death. You know, I feel like nowadays,
They,
you know,
they
especially
got to wrap everything up with a bow.
no,
and
Yeah, no, I agree.
exactly.
I agree.
Not only the fact that we live in the superhero age. If fucking Captain America happens to die in the next like Infinity War film or whatever is going to happen, like trust me, there's going to be a long funeral and Iron Man's gonna go up there and he's gonna say a bunch of words and it's gonna be a slow death. It's not gonna be like suddenly Captain America's just like, here I am, guys, and gets shot in the head and dies.
Yeah,
like it's
right.
gonna be a slow, like dramatic death where everything gets like over exaggerated. This and it's not gonna end with the film. This is a thing that I feel like happened kind of in this era. They would just end a fucking film with a death. With no monologue at the end.
But
you know?
also, you got to look at it this way too, though. Like Chris was trying to say, it's not a cop out ending. I'm not saying it's a cop out ending either. Don't get me wrong in that. But there was literally nowhere else for those characters to go. Like them retiring in Florida would be unrealistic to what their characters are actually trying to say.
But
so there's really nowhere for them to go. They have to kill these guys.
But what I do like is that it says something towards the end of the film. That other films may not have done. Like, we can go back to The Bad Seed. She gets hit with a fucking lightning bolt. But, like, what is that saying at the end of the film? That, like, nature will finally kill off evil people?
Yeah.
That God himself will reach down and fire a lightning bolt at people? Like, it's not really a thing that really says something about, like, the overwhelming, like, theme of the film. This does.
Yeah, I
like
agree.
these
It
fucking
sticks with it.
hillbillies come back and they go to and they do exactly what Jack Nicholson said they were gonna do, which is we're gonna track these guys down because we don't like their lifestyle.
Yes.
That offends me, despite the fact that we propose to be people that believe in this sort of thing.
Yes.
no, I agree.
Totally
The
agree.
death totally serves a purpose. So it's not. It's
It's not
definitely
a throwaway death. It,
Yeah.
it serves to kind of propel the story even more at the very end of it. But I
It's to
kind
make the point of the film.
I kind of think that like the reason you don't see it nowadays is I'm sure after X amount of years of audiences getting these hard fucking stops in
Yeah.
films, they probably started getting really pissed off. Be like, well, that's not. Why did the good guys
Well,
die? I want a
yeah.
better explanation.
Sad
type of thing.
endings. The last time I saw a sad ending, because I'll just say sad endings.
What about abrupt ending?
Rough endings? No, because sad because the is the Mist. That's the last one that I can think of.
Well, that was
I've
like
seen.
totally
That has like a sad ending. It doesn't end abruptly, but
it doesn't end abruptly, but it's one of those like like you don't see that.
yeah,
you know, you
do
don't
not
see it
that
coming. I mean, and that was like another thing. Like Frank Darabont like wrote that shit in, and like yeah. Like I mean,
So it's just it's one of those things. But hey, let's take a break. When we come back, let's rate this Mammer Jammer, shall we?
We're rich, Wyatt. Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, we did it, man. We did it. We did it. We're rich, man. We're retired in Florida now, mister. You know, Billy, we blew it. What? What? That's what it's all about, man. I mean, like, you go for the big money, man, and then you're free. You dig? We blew it.
We're back and we're ready to rate this Mammer Jammer. Chris, what are we rating it?
We're going to rate it tabs of LSD.
Tabs of LSD, your favorite brand, whatever kind you like.
Tab soda.
It's, is that what it's
Can
made
we
of?
rate it tab soda? I know it has nothing to do with the film.
Nope.
Okay.
Well, there goes our first sponsor, Tab Soda.
Oh, I tried tab as a kid and was sad kid.
Tab equals sad.
didn't
I was
meet
like-
your lofty expectation.
No, it was like my friend had it, and I was like, "Cool, you guys got soda? Yeah!" Pop it open, one swig, and I'm like, "Bleh."
That's how it was with Diet Right. I went to a friend's
Right?
house. They had
Oh,
Diet
man.
Right.
Ew, same
Who
here.
would get a
R.I.T.E..
diet right?
Diet Right. I was like, oh, soda. Take a sip. Like, that tastes like salt.
How many of these sodas still exist? Does RC Cola still exist?
Yeah,
it
oh fuck
does.
yeah, dude. RC's the best.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Royal Crown? The Royal Crown?
It's the Royal Crown of colas, Mike. It's
Is that
the
what
fucking
RC
best.
stood for the
It
whole
stands for
time?
Royal Crown.
Yeah, the Royal Crown of
Did
colas.
not know that.
Yeah, come on,
Did
bro.
not know
Look at
that.
that.
I love RC, dude. RC still. I buy RC still.
I
to
would
this
have.
day.
I would have drank RC Cola in my BK nights.
You know what?
Ooh.
You know what? It's just Pepsi, but that's fine.
Didn't know that either.
Well, that's just now you're crushing dreams. So I will go first. I will say this is not my type of movie. I can see how people would really enjoy this film. Not for me. I need something like I just need more happening on screen than this riding motorcycles and sitting around fires for me. The stuff that did happen, it was, it was what it was for its time. Doesn't really speak to me for it. I think I understand why this is a classic film though, and I get why people do gravitate towards it. Beautifully shot. The scenery is great. The chemistry between the actors is actually really well too, like between all of them. Even like the ensemble people behind them who are just like crazy characters or fucking real, who knows. So with that being said, I don't know. For me, I'd probably give it a 2. Like, that's just me personally. I don't think everybody is going to feel that way about this film, but this is not something I would be like, you know what I want to watch? Easy Rider. Just fucking throw it on. Let's take a journey, man. Like, it's not a journey I want to go on. It's kind of bored. So, 2. Let's start with... let's go...
It's better every time.
Yeah.
Let's go next to Shut Up. Let's go next to...
Shut Up.
Kyle, since you want to talk so much, why don't you go next?
All right. Yeah, I go back and forth on what I want to rate this film. I'm probably going to come in at like a 3.5. Tabs of LSD. I enjoy this film. I like the visuals of it. I like the story. I like what is being told. If only for like a few scenes. There's like a few scenes in this movie that really sum up the film. It's Jack Nicholson's monologue right before he gets killed, the closing scene when the characters get shot and killed. Maybe that's not enough to support a whole film for some people, but for me, I think it's just one of those movies where you watch it, but those few scenes are so impactful, they stick with you for a long time. I like the music. I mean, we didn't even talk about the soundtrack during our review, but the soundtrack is solid as fuck.
It is fantastic.
Yep.
And I'm a big fan of just kind of road movies and car movies and stuff like that. So, I mean, this is up my alley for sure. So, yeah, 3.5 from me. I'll check it out again, and I definitely suggest anybody check it out. It's with it, man. Yeah, there you go.
Holy shit. It's with it, man.
Next up is Mike.
Yeah, I'm going to give this a 3.5 too. Look, yeah, it's a product of its time. They don't make films like this anymore, and probably they shouldn't, And I don't mean that in a bad way. I feel like there was a time, like trippy cuts and stuff like that. Like that was a time that that was a cool thing to do. Nowadays, I think it would be cliche, if anything, like archaic in some way. We still do it to some extent, but in very different ways. Not in the way that they did in this film. The meaning of this film, I feel, would get lost on a modern society. What people don't want to be free. I don't think, for the most part. I have 2 Alexas in my home. Yeah, they're listening to me. Great. Like I can buy shit immediately. Like it's great. Listen to my whole life. I don't care. Like we've given that up. So I feel like there's a loss in that. That being said, it's well shot. Again, soundtrack's fantastic. Characters are relatively real too. I didn't get a feeling of like anybody was too like an unrealistic portrayal of America. And it really is that it's one of those few films where they use the main character as an observer, but it's not too boring. Because the real character in this, I feel, is like society. Is that a weird thing to say?
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, that like these 2 guys, like you didn't need them to be too involved in the story, because what they were really doing was just watching what society was all about, what America specifically was about, and how it reacted to their presence there. And I think that's really important. And very few films that use that protagonist as observer really ever pull that off. It's a hard thing to do, and I feel like this film does it pretty well. So 3.5 tabs of acid. A pretty good trip.
You know what, Cody?
as you would normally call it.
A pretty good trip from Mike.
You know, Cody?
What?
It feels good.
I know he's over here rubbing his bare feet against the carpet like some kind of goddamn,
Yeah.
like some kind of
Get that
goddamn
nice
animal.
little tickle there.
We're gonna have to get some shag carpet up here.
Last but definitely the least is Chris.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3.5 on this one as well. I agree with so much of what Mike said. The story it pertains to a particular time period, and you kind of have to accept it for what it is and what they were trying to do at that time. I really did like Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper's characters, even though they were mellow and kind of downplayed, and it was just a lot of them like riding around and experiencing life. I like the idea of freedom that they put across, which was basically sex, drugs, rock and roll, on the road, nobody holding them down, kind of a thing. And for me, that held my interest. And I thought, for a lot of motorcycle shots, they shot it well. And there was moments where I was like, damn, they're riding really close together, and starting to notice the little nuances of their journey. So I do recommend people seeing this. It's a cool movie to see for like an early independent film that was successful, and they did try to get a little experimental with it, but I think that had something to do with the drugs. They were trying to put you in that position where you felt like maybe you were on drugs while watching the film. So yeah, for that I'm gonna have to give it a 3.5. Tabs of acid. It's a once every 10-year kind of movie.
That's so funny that you say that. There's so many films like that. They're like, maybe I'll pull this film out in a decade. Revisit it.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. We really appreciate you listening. We appreciate it so much that if you rate us on iTunes or leave us a review, we're going to read it like we're going to do that right now. Mike?
All right. Yeah. We have another review, another 5-star review, everybody.
Oh, my God.
From Pink Flamingo 1486.
Oh, I love it. I love that name.
Great name.
1486, a good year. 20-odd years
Solid
after
year.
Columbus sailed the ocean blue.
Or maybe they were born on January, what was it? January 4th. 1986.
It would be,
Look
yeah.
at Chris using logic and
It
shit.
would be, or it could be.
I like that they were playing more homage to Columbus. Good job.
Yeah, 20-odd years later.
Yeah.
Is what you said, 20-odd?
20-odd. And they say, I love listening to this show. They've
thank
done movies that I remember from my younger days, and also a ton that have made me realize that I need to brush up on my movie watching skills. We think that every single day.
Yeah, we used to do that every time.
Guess
We're like,
what?
what movie we're going to do next?
Never saw Easy Rider. Yeah. The guys are very funny and have a good flow, which is easy to follow. A+. And that's true. We have a good flow, but we have two guys that used to rap. So.
So, I'm just saying.
Just saying.
Sure, just sell you and I short, Mike.
Well, we didn't rap. I can't rap.
I can rap.
Can you?
No.
Okay.
I was about to say that.
But A+, that's the best grade you can get in elementary school.
Yeah.
So guess what?
Well, thank
Fuck
you.
you, teacher from 6th grade.
Yeah. Who said
Never
I would do
amounted to
nothing.
anything, huh?
Didn't think I could be a straight A student? Guess what? Now you're fucking laughing. She's not.
Now you're laughing.
Now you're
Hopefully.
laughing because you're in a podcast.
Hopefully we're that entertaining.
Yeah.
No, thank you very, very much for your review, Pink Flamingos. We really appreciate that. You're awesome. If you guys want to be awesome, just leave us a review and we'll give you a shout out. We really appreciate it, like when you guys do that for us. So that's it, guys.
What about the Phoenix Film Festival thing? Are we talking about that at
Well,
all?
we're going to have a commercial run for it, so do we need to talk about it? You're right, we do. We're going to be there April 8th. You can see us in the Party Pavilion. We'll be schmoozing,
Boozing.
losing.
Probably cruising.
Busting
Maybe
loosing.
cruising after we watch this film. We might be cruising.
See all that rap skills that we were just talking about?
Mike just
God
came in like he was the
damn.
amateur here, and he's dropping hits.
I know.
You
He's
know,
dropping bombs.
I was like, what's his name? Bunny Rabbit from 8 Mile.
Yeah, but we we're Bunny Rabbit from 8
Was
Mile.
that his name? Bunny Rabbit?
Yeah, it was Bunny Rabbit.
Thank God.
No, it was not that.
Go
We
on.
are going to be out at the Scottsdale Harkins 101. Make sure you guys make it out there for the Phoenix Film Festival. Should be a really good time. Should be some great films out there. It's awesome that they invited us back again this year. We're super appreciative of that. So make sure you come out because it's going to be a good time and we'll be there. We might just be handing shirts out. I don't know. Maybe
Maybe.
So, you can follow us on social media, on the Twitter.
On the old Twitters.
The old twits.
Yep.
The old twitters.
At cultfilm_review. You can also follow us at Instagram on cultfilm_review. You can follow us on Facebook. And then after you follow us on Facebook, I want you to go follow Kyle.
You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
And then after you follow Kyle, I want you to follow Chris.
You can follow me at cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
Don't forget about following Mike.
You can follow me at Mike Salustio on Twitter.
And why do you yell at? That's my thing. I know, that's my thing. Come on, Mike.
I did it in a very different way.
It didn't sound like you.
I know, but he's stepping on my toes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my God.
I don't think anybody. And you can follow Cody. Yeah!
VHS Collects on Instagram. All right, guys, that's our show. So just remember, if you're going to join a cult, make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next week.